you're basically saying like, hey, we have this much stock for sale. All you folks out there with monies can go buy this stock. Some of these shares are voting shares. You can weigh in on how the company's going to go. You now have hundreds of thousands of financial partners that are in this with you instead of like a smaller group. Easier to communicate with, less hard to control when you're going private. Unless mathematically they bought 50.01% or something like that, and then they're essentially the decision makers now.
I see.
I think the good thing though about doing it privately at this stage is your plans, your business plans, what you want to achieve, your objectives don't have to be forecast. They don't have to be publicly known, which in some ways can be great ammunition for your competitors. When you have your shareholders meetings, when you have your annual reports and summaries and all of that, if you're a private company, you don't actually have to share that information. If you're a publicly traded company, you literally have to share all that information all the time. And you'd be a fool to think that your competitors don't own shares of your stock to get even the voting pamphlet that you send out once a year, or to be part of the earnings calls, or just to hear whatever information about your company as early as possible. So that's one thing you protect yourself from.
And there's tremendous pressure, right? With the quarterly profits and the annual reports, like people want to hear, what are you doing right now that is going to be a better ROI?
And you bring up another good point there. And like, for example, if Tencent were to come in and invest in your company, you at least know that they have a lot of business inside of the game industry.
Yeah.
They're likely going to understand more your specific goals as a game development company, what you would need to prosper as a game development company. Like, they're more in line with understanding why they invested in you, right? When you have hundreds of thousands of just random people around the world investing money, it could be just because they heard at a bar this Unity stock thing. Yeah. Like, put some money in that. Yeah. And they have voting shares. They have no experience with gaming, game development tools, any of that. But because they've put $30,000 into your stock, they have $30,000 worth of votes potentially at shareholders meetings or earnings calls, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Let's go over this article because they went through their latest round, and you brought up a really interesting point, right? So let me read through this, and then we'll talk about it. Unity's valuation has climbed up to $6 billion after the company signed an investment deal with D1 Capital Partners, Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, Light Street Capital, blah, 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 will finance a $525 million transfer offer to common shareholders. The engine maker will only secure the full $525 million if enough shareholders, most of whom are former and current employees, decide to sell Unity. The opportunity for your liquidity. Oh, wow. Man. So people can cash in now.
Well, they're only going to get the money if enough people decide to do it.
I see.
So this actually sounds pretty interesting, because all these people have to be contacted and wrangled together to be like, okay, this company is essentially trying to buy into Unity, not necessarily we're just giving you money to grow on some sort of like partnership. Like, you will return this much in the future. They're literally like, no, we know that there's shares outstanding. We want to actually purchase from people who have them, but it's not a publicly traded company, so this is the way that they have to do it. So you have these people who have been given stock options. You have people who have left the company but still have stock or whatever, like private stock. They're now like, well, either I wait for IPO day and I don't know how that's going to perform, but I have a guaranteed this much of the $525 million times whatever the percentage value of that to my shares is. I will get this essentially
right
in
now.
30 to 90 days.
Would you?
I don't know. It depends on the number. Depends on the number. If I had anything like 400, 500,000 shares of Unity stock, I'd be looking to do something. I might not sell it all, but I'd be looking to like get some
cash.
sort of like just a taste.
Yeah,
just a little whet my appetite. Just a taste.
But that's usually good news, right? If they are asking to buy some of your stock now before IPO, you can only take it in as good news, right? Not bad news.
Well, I guess from what I understand of how it sounds like this deal is structured, though, it could backfire. If everyone that has those stock is on IPO board, then this really means nothing. If all the stock has to come from shares outstanding from people who literally have been given stock, left the company, no longer at Unity, if those people are holding out for IPO day, like it doesn't matter what you say to them. If they believe that like, actually this is going to be worth way more than the 25,000 I could get for my 100,000 shares, I think each share is going to be worth $19, $20, $30, and that 25,000 ain't going to be shit compared to
the real money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's a lot to discuss, man.
Yeah.
So, assuming Unity receives the full amount, it'll take the company recent funding total to $675 million, with a good chunk of that can be being raised through a hefty Series E funding round that takes place in May.
Yeah.
It's unclear whether the latest investment will have any impact on Unity's
Long rumored IPO plans.
IPO plans. The company has apparently been preparing to go public the first half of 2020 as long as the market conditions are favorable, although we've yet to hear anything official.
6 more months until Unity IPO. So then this deal, if you have Unity shares right now, you hold all the power based on what I'm hearing. You have a company coming in that knows 6 months from now that IPO is probably going to do well. They're betting that the IPO is going to do well, and so they're trying to get on the cheap as much Unity stock privately possible, is what it seems like. Especially when I look at, and this is speculation here, but what do we say? D1 Capital Partners, Canada Pension Plan Investment Board, right? Like, what games do those companies invest in other than this deal, right? Like, where have you seen that name tied to the investment of a game company, the research or development of an early level game company? So this to me seems like all based on like numbers speculation, where they're like, hey, this is going to be a good move. It's going to make our portfolios look great. Let's get this Unity thing.